Last week we talked about Cleopsis, the Alltaker's daughter and the once ruler of a great kingdom in the mortal realm. It was her job to understand humanity, a task she succeeded in. And yet she used this knowledge to rule them, something that was drawing the attention of the Celestials. Were she not the Alltaker's child, things would have ended really differently. Anyone who might reveal the rebellion to the celestial realm is working against the Court of the Dead, and anyone working against the Court of the Dead is working against the Alltaker. And anyone working against the Alltaker should be very, very afraid, because it won't be long before you meet the Executioner. This is the School of the Dead. My name is Andrew Seco, and I am your host and teacher for the day. As always, I will link or note any additional supplementary materials or reading stuffs that you may need to keep up and follow along. But for now, our primary textbook will continue to be The Chronicle of the Underworld. So let's continue to meet the Alltaker's children. Today, we will meet the solemn and towering Oglavaeil. One look at the massive presence of Oglavaeil and his terrifying twin blades, and you might mistake him for just a powerful brute. This is only half true. He is most certainly powerful. In fact, he's been entrusted with the greatest power of all, the ability to destroy Etheria. That's right, destroy it. That's honestly kind of the clinical way to say it. Destroy Etheria. It's a complete and utter destruction. It's death in the underworld, a final end to the energy that made up somebody's being. And his swords don't absorb ethereal energy, they destroy it. But what was he given this power for? To quote the Chronicle, "When death created him, Oglavaeil was imbued with one simple truth. For chaos and order to balance each other, there must be repercussions for every action. And so the law was made manifest in this one melancholy being alone among the residents of the underworld, unable to ever change his path or relinquish his duties. But death was careful when he created Oglavaeil. It would be too easy to succumb to the desire for power. And this right here is when we can finally start talking about something that's extremely important in the world and the story of the Court of the Dead. The Dread's Grip. Court of the Dead, as a story and as a world, asks you, as the audience and the people within the world, to fight against their darker nature, to become their best self. It's a constant struggle. But when people succumb to their vices, when they let the evil parts of themselves take over, they make room for the Dread's Grip to corrupt them. And power? The power to completely annihilate somebody's very existence? There's no greater power in the underworld beyond the Alltaker. But it seems to mourners that Oglavaeil is immune to that corruption. He is true compassion and final justice. And so he plays a great role in defeating the Dread's Grip and people that have been corrupted by Dread's Grip within the underworld. Those Dread's Grip touched mourners are called Rakers, and Oglavaeil is a massive part of taking them down. He's a part of a knighthood called the Dreadsbane Order. You'll get a little glimpse at that in the Shadows of the Underworld graphic novel, and you'll sort of understand a little better what they're up against and who else might be involved. But in the graphic novel Grave Tales, specifically Oglavaeil, Lament of the Executioner, we see what Oglavaeil's personal responsibility in the underworld is. Zyle accuses one of her scribes of heresy and conspiracy, a crime punishable by death. She charges Oglavaeil to perform his duties and execute him. But as a being of justice and a member of the faction of Spirit, Oglavaeil is not so impulsive or quick to act on such a large command, not even at the command of Zyle.
I sought the condemned. The law prevented me from doing otherwise, but there was nothing in death's law that prevented me from investigating the truth.
Oglavaeil seeks to understand why the Alltaker gave him the responsibility of being the executioner. So he seeks answers, even if they're unsatisfactory. Oglavaeil learns that the scribe was actually a spy for Gethsemane. And he knew that Gethsemane would know that Zyle knew that the scribe was a spy for Gethsemane, but Zyle still let the scribe be a part of her court, perhaps for her own political games. It's dizzying. Too often, Oglavaeil is caught in the middle of these mind games and political strategies between Gethsemane and Zyle, but he's a keeper of the peace because it's entirely his role to find balance, even if that balance is unsatisfactory to him. Let's take a deeper dive into the mindset of Oglavaeil to really understand the weight of his twin blades. Because yes, he seeks to understand his purpose. He is not eager to annihilate any mourner. It's a terrible burden on him. He's got something in his very essence that wants peace, but it's his desire for balance that drives him to do whatever it takes to reach that goal. And while he does not crave or even really want the power that he's been given, he knows how important it is. And he can't imagine what burden the Alltaker feels. So there's some solidarity in their suffering and the sacrifice of their very existence. But there's no one better for the role than someone who doesn't want it. And he knows that, because anyone else with his twin blades, they'd tear a rip through reality itself and use the power to claim the realms for themselves. They'd go power hungry. Not Oglavaeil. Oglavaeil is the only one that can do what has to be done. Only with Oglavaeil can the rebellion succeed. Only with Oglavaeil can we rise, conquer, and rule. And that is Oglavaeil the Executioner, who is one of my favorite characters because he's an incredible example of the themes and stories that are told within the Court of the Dead. He shows the duality of what you are at your core versus what you must become, with the challenge that you might rise to and the burden of that challenge. It's just incredible, and I love it. And if you have any questions about Oglavaeil, be sure to ask them on any of our social media because we want to answer them for you. We want to interact with you, and we've got a quiz for you coming later this week. But here's my question for you today. Oglavaeil has his two twin blades, but if you had twin blades, what would they be called? Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of School of the Dead. Tune in next week to learn more about the Alltaker's children and specifically Auragast, the Arbiter of Souls. Now go, mortals! Rise, conquer, and rule!
Hey, did you like that video? Well, be sure to subscribe by clicking the S icon on your screen and click that bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. If you'd like more information on the items featured in this video, click the link provided under product info. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.